Going on YouTube? How are y'all doing? Hope you're all having yourselves a wonderful day. Today we're going to be jumping back into the SCP universe with the Exploring series. We're going to check out the Class of 76. So I've heard a lot of different things with 76, some different videos. The one about you don't recognize the bodies. I don't remember the specific SCP number. Then obviously the one most recently, which again I can't remember the SCP number of, but with the high school with the cheerleaders and the weird stuff happening in that town and in Iowa or Indiana, I mean. Yeah, so there's been a lot of different references to things with 76, so I'm interested to see what this Class of 76 is about and how it relates to them or not. So yeah, links will be down below in the description to the original video and channel. If you do me a favor, click those links. If you enjoy this original video of the Exploring series, please go over there and give it a like. And if you enjoy the Exploring series content, please go over there and give the man a sub. We're doing this reaction live from our YouTube members. If you'd like to come in and hang out while we do these live reactions, join in the discussions or just chill, you're welcome to do so. We'd love to have you guys come in here. There is a join button below the video as well as a link in the description. Check those out. See if any of the YouTube membership benefit tiers have any interest for you. If you'd like to take your support for the next level. Regardless, thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to come in, hang out, and watch this video. So with all that said, shameless plugs done. Let's get into the video. So again, this is the Exploring series, Class of 76.
The Class of 76. For many, high school is a time of learning, discovery, transition, and change. Friendships and relationships are forged and broken, memories are made, and a development occurs between youth and adulthood. In the SCP universe, these themes are present in the narrative of the Class of 76, but they're placed under the veneer of anomalous activity. The Class of 76 is a fairly loose narrative, and represents more of a general theme of nostalgia and days gone by, but there's plenty of unnerving and strange flavor to go with it. Let's start by looking at SCP-1833, which is actually titled The Class of 76. 1833 is a copy of a 1976 edition of a high school yearbook, with Reflections of 76 on the cover. We can see a page from the yearbook in the prelude to the Remembrance series of tales, which we'll cover soon. The page seems to be a fairly standard display of some of the graduating class, although it seems some pictures are missing, and some of the students' quotes are a little odd. Statements such as, "What a wonderful year. Too bad that idiot had to spoil it." Or, "I hope that one day blank gets cancer." Hint at something rather unfortunate occurring in 1976 at the high school. The page really gets strange, however, at the bottom, with one girl's picture missing her nose and eyes,
And this dude.
and another with what looks like only 2 scratches down his face.
This reminds me of something, but I can't remember what it's from. Like a picture, it's Dark City or something. I don't know. There's like the creatures were like, they had like slits and like really long fingers and like this giant smile and like a pale face. I don't remember what it's from, but I've seen like various memes and things or whatever about it. Anyway.
Back at SCP-1833, anyone that reads that copy of the yearbook, if they have graduated from high school, will perceive it as their own high school's yearbook. It will contain messages from people who they associated with during high school, and initially these messages will be highly positive and encouraging. After reading through 10 pages of the book, however, the messages will become more negative, recounting events from the subject's high school years that they are embarrassed or remorseful about.
Interesting.
Further messages will discuss events past high school, and begin to make personal attacks against the reader. Pictures in the book at this point will feature heavily deformed people. After 20 to 30 pages, the reader will find themselves in pictures depicting embarrassing events from their high school years, but these will continue to progress into disturbing scenarios of the reader committing crimes and being mutilated. Well, it's certainly odd, obviously, since it's an SCP, but by itself it's not particularly special. There are a handful of other SCPs linked from within 1833, however, that also deal with the class of 76. 1833 mentions a marching band seen in the background of a photo, linking to SCP-332. We learn right away that SCP-332 is the entire class of 1976 Kirk Lawnwood High School Marching Band.
I think we've heard the name of that high school before in another one. I don't remember anything specifically about the marching band, but I do remember the high school name, Kirk Longwood High School.
Consisting of 30 humanoids wearing band uniforms. The name Syncope.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought. The Kirk Longwood High School is the same name from The Bodies in the Water. That's what I thought. The name is familiar.
Symphony has been engraved into each of their instruments, a name we'll hear more of later, and one you might
Why does it look like there's like a bullet hole or something right there?
recognize as making a brief appearance in SCP-3935. Syncope is another term for fainting or loss of consciousness. Members of SCP-332 stood in the same place on the former Kirk Lawnwood High School football field for over 30 years, without suffering from hunger, pain, or exposure to the elements. Occasionally, some of them will be seen struggling with an unseen force momentarily before returning to their normal state. Once every 48 hours, SCP-332 will disappear, reappearing at some other population center, such as a major tourist attraction, or even facilities that regularly host marching bands. SCP-332 will proceed to march around the perimeter of the area for 15 to 45 minutes, followed by playing an arrangement of music.
Interesting.
Anyone that hears the music will be compelled to find an instrument and join 332, playing music until they pass out.
Even if you don't know how to play, I would assume? That's interesting.
Those that can't find an instrument within 10 minutes will join regardless, miming an instrument and mimicking the sound with their mouths. Those that pass out will likely be trampled by the others. For every 10 people that join 332, the area of 332's effect will grow by 300 meters, continuing to cause more and more people to join, unless
Yikes.
everyone that has joined is either terminated or incapacitated. At this point, 332 will return to their prior location. SCP-332 was first activated in 1976 at the Kirk Lawnwood High School, and the Foundation possesses a damaged videotape of the event. The school's marching band begins assembling on the field while someone records it through a window. A woman is heard mentioning that something is unusual about the band's uniforms, and another woman mentions Syncope Symphony, a band equipment supplier that she can't find any information on. The band begins to perform for an audience, who quickly exhibit signs of distress. The band begins activating as SCP-332 does, and a commotion starts in the room where the camera is located, causing the camera to fall to the ground. 7 minutes later, something picks up the camera and pans it around the room to show a number of bodies, and it shows the band still performing before shutting off. The Foundation came in soon afterwards to contain SCP-332.
Interesting.
We still have a lot of questions, as we don't know what Syncope Symphony is, what caused the band to become anomalous, what killed the people filming the band, who picked up the camera, and who the mysterious person is in the band photo. Before we get into the story, however, let's look at some other SCPs connected to the class of 76. SCP-1423 is a Polaroid photograph from 1976 depicting several unidentified teenagers and the words, "We've had a great year, haven't we?" written on the back in charcoal. Whenever someone holds 1423,
The Syncope is a very mysterious faction in the universe. I still have no clue what their deal is. Interesting. Okay. So they kind of showed up and created this anomaly, I guess. Is that kind of what's happening? I don't know. Anyway.
they will begin to reminisce about the last summer vacation they had in high school over the next several weeks. Those that didn't attend high school or didn't have a summer vacation will instead reminisce about the last summer they experienced. Affected subjects will progress
Gotcha.
to actively revisiting locations from their memories, as well as contacting others they contacted during that time. They will experience feelings of regret while revisiting, noting that they didn't experience as much as they could have. Attempts to recreate the experiences from their memories will result in immense dissatisfaction. Afterwards, they will become possessive of 1423 and begin to experience dreams of their idealized version of past vacations, which increase in clarity the longer they possess 1423.
Interesting.
After 3 to 5 months of this, however, their dreams will begin incorporating more and more elements not related to their original experience. 1423 was recovered from the home of a man who had been reported missing, but it was really simply obsessed with 1423. A higher dosage of amnestics was administered to the man after the Foundation discovered he had previously received amnestics in 1976, when witnessing the first activation of SCP-332.
Interesting. That's kind of interesting. So he was actually there, witnessed the first event, then somehow got this Polaroid that then made him re-obsess and potentially either remember stuff that happened during that time, or just became or both became obsessed with the Polaroid and was remembering stuff through his dreams about the actual events that happened there or something. Interesting. It's kind of a strange coincidence that a man who was there during the actual event would also come in possession of a Polaroid that is an SCP anomaly that is tied to the event. That's very sus, as the kids say these days.
SCP-1423 is clearly tapping into many people's feelings of nostalgia and the bygone days of youth, and although many people long to recapture these moments, it's nothing but a fading dream. The words, "We've had a great year, haven't we?" appear on the back cover of the 1976 Kirk Lonwood yearbook as well, along with, "Don't worry about waiting for the reunion. I'm sure we'll see each other soon enough. Lots of love from all of your best friends." This links us to SCP-2316, a cognitohazard that the Foundation is very careful about discussing. The principal phrase of 2316 is, "You do..."
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be, right? That was even kind of, I think, indicated in the video itself.
"not recognize the bodies in the water." This phrase is repeated a number of
I don't recognize the bodies in the water. I don't know what you're talking about.
times throughout the document, and a Foundation member accessing the document must regularly say into a microphone that they do not recognize the bodies in the water. The water in question is a lake, likely located somewhere in the United States, and the Foundation have fenced off and quarantined the entire lake, using personnel to patrol it that have no knowledge of 2316. Anyone that comes within 50 meters of the lake is considered lost. The bodies in question are a number of human corpses floating in a small group and are apparently unrecognizable. Those that view the corpses,
which is also strange because in the yearbook picture, a couple of the pictures of the people, their faces are gone. So I wonder if that's the same thing here, tying it even further. The SCP, the thing Quiet Madness made may have been a different high school, but it may still be connected. Right. That's what I'm saying, because it all happens during the 76.
believe them to be human beings they recognize, typically from their childhood. This effect also extends to simply being aware of certain characteristics of 2316, thus the precautions. Affected individuals will feel compelled to go into the lake where they are lost, with to date none of them recovered. It's theorized.
So, like, and that's another question that I'm curious about. So, do they go in the lake and, like, literally they just disappear? Their entire bodies disappear, maybe going to a different dimension or something like that? Or is it a situation where, like, by they're lost, they mean, like, they just drown and become more bodies that whatever this SCP is utilizes, you know, that was something that I think I wasn't very clear about when I watched the original video. Anyway.
Theorized that 2316 is not a number of individual entities, but is in fact a singular conscious, basically a hive mind functioning as one. On the surface, that's it for 2316, a rather odd cognitohazard that only poses a danger to those that view the bodies or become aware of certain characteristics, causing them to enter the lake and never be seen again. There's more, however, as there are a number of footnotes spread across 2316's document that don't seem to be written by any Foundation member. The first one reads, "I know who they are. I know their names. Each and every one of them. Don't you?" The second reads,
I don't recognize bodies.
"They're lying. They know damn well who they are. The cognitohazard is real, but it's just their way of crying for help, of letting people know who they are, who they were." The third reads, "How can you not recognize the bodies in the water?"
That is a creepy fucking picture, I just want to say. Like, yeah. That looks like something out of an alien world.
The fourth reads, "They were." The third reads, "How can you not recognize the bodies in the water?" The fourth reads, "They don't want to show you, but I will." Accessing some hidden addendums reveals further information. A dialogue between a doctor and a redacted individual, although the blacked out text actually reads, "You do not recognize the bodies in the water." According to their conversation, the individual went into the lake because the bodies were of his friends, people they'd known their entire life. There was something wrong with their faces, though, like a person in a dream that you can't quite remember, and they were speaking into the individual's mind, asking for help. The individual insists that the Foundation knows all of the body's identities, but is trying to hide it. The individual then mentions Birchwood High School, and the text links to SCP-1833, the yearbook. Technically, 1833 doesn't specifically say it's the yearbook of Kirk Lawnwood High School, so it's possible that more than one high school was affected by anomalies in 1976.
Which would then tie in again to that high school with the thing Quiet Madness made. So there could have been all kinds of fuckery going on for some reason in 76 in a specific area.
The final piece of text in the article urges the reader to go to the lake and look into the eyes of the bodies there, as they are your friends and classmates. It says that in the fall of 1975, you and the others took a trip to the lake, the year we were supposed to graduate. You got away, but the others are still there, at the bottom of the lake, waiting to be reunited. They're waiting for you. Creepy, yes, but also potentially sad, and most of all, interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
The Foundation insists that 2316 is nothing more than a mental anomaly.
Yeah, so like, if the Foundation knows the identities of the actual bodies, I mean, like, obviously, there's an issue with the cognitohazard, right? And so, people that go there, they jump in, and they probably drown, right? And then they just become a part of this lake, lost forever. So obviously, they want to prevent people from killing themselves as part of, you know, preventing people with the cognitohazard. But I guess the question would be, why are they keeping the identities of the actual people? If the SCP does really know the original bodies that were there, what is it that they're trying to prevent? What knowledge are they trying to prevent from being spread about the identities of the original people? You know? Is it actually the O5 Council? The O5 Council really dead? You know what I mean? Something like that. Is it something crazy like that that could shake the actual foundations of the SCP Foundation? Or, you know, what could it be? You know, what's so important about the identities of these people that they're trying to keep hidden if they indeed know them, and why? Is it simply just part of the cognito hazard? If you know their identities, does the cognito hazard then also take effect regardless of your range from the lake? Because it did say that it's either if you get within a certain distance of the lake, or if you know certain conditions, you then get attracted to it and want to know more about it anyway. So is that also part of it? Is knowing the identity of the individuals in there? Would that trigger the cognito hazard? Or is it something more? You know? Thanks, Photograph. SP answers that. You've been knowing what happened on 7 cause anomalies. Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
That convinces people that their friends' bodies are, and most of all, interesting. The Foundation insists that 2316 is nothing more than a mental anomaly that convinces people that their friends' bodies are in the lake and they should join them. Some rogue individual or force, however, has infiltrated the Foundation's archives to insert their own perspective.
I feel like I don't know much about the Serpent's Hand yet, obviously. I've only done like one video on them. But I wonder if that sounds like something the Serpent's Hand would do, right? Someone from the Serpent's Hand would sneak in there and try to be like, nope, there's something more going on here. The SCP is trying to hide this.
Since we can really only view this situation through the lens of the SCP Foundation, it's difficult to say what exactly the truth is. The point remains, though, that this is another SCP that deals with memory, tying it together with the general themes of the class of 76.
Which also, that is something else about the other A Quiet Madness Made thing, is like, a lot of people there in that town, their memory's been fucked with. And again, that could just be because of the amnestics that were given to them by the UIU, or however many times it's happened potentially, because I guess maybe it could have happened multiple times and the amnestics they gave weren't as effective, or they had more longer side effects, I guess. So it just fucked with them. But it could also just be more side effects coming from whatever the anomalies are going on that happened back in 76, because it seems like there's more stuff tied to 76 than just like there's too many like individual coincidences of SCPs happen specifically in 76, and I guess seemingly around Indiana, I think, because I think I know the Quiet Madness Made was a high school in Indiana, in a fictional town there. But I think also the lake in 76 was something that was around Indiana as well. If I remember correctly from the video, I could be wrong. I could be misremembering. But I think that's the case, and that's why I originally tied the two of them together, because it took place in 76, and because the lake was somewhere in Indiana as well as the high school. But maybe I'm misremembering. Anyway, let's continue.
Whether it's the Kirk Lawnwood High School or some other one. It's time, though, to put a narrative together about the class of 76, and that takes us to the Remembrance series of tales. You've already seen the yearbook page that starts the tale, but the first part takes the form of a journal written by a senior at the school named Lee. Lee collects coins, has plans to do something in engineering once he graduates, and notably is a member of the Kirk Lawnwood Marching Band. The next entry is mostly typical material, but the following one discusses a football game where the Kirk Lawnwood team massacred the opposition.
Yeah, I think I think in the story of the You Don't Recognize the Bodies, it's not known where the Kirk Lawnwood High School is, but the other high school that they were talking about in the thing A Quiet Madness Made is obviously one that's stated in this fictional town in Indiana. But I could have swore there was some reference that says the lake that all these bodies are in was also somewhere in Indiana. Maybe not. Maybe I'm mistaken and I'm misremembering. But that's what I thought. And so like these people were just on a summer vacation. They went up there and they traveled to this lake, and whatever happened. So I don't know. But anyway.
Game where the Kirk Lawnwood team massacred the opposition. The coach apparently joked that the success was due to the team's new uniforms, which they bought from a cheaper place named Cinephone or something. Lee hopes that the marching band gets new uniforms as well. Why a company that apparently deals in musical instruments would also sell football uniforms is a bit of a mystery.
Ah. So the plot then thickens more. This Syncope company or whatever could be making anomalous stuff and putting them out to the public to test things, try things. Yeah, Symphony. Yeah. Exactly.
Another journal entry shows Lee went to a new music store downtown named Syncope Symphony, calling it really excellent. He received a big discount for being a Kirk Lonwood student,
Interesting.
and then says he plans on going back soon. He just has to close his eyes and follow the beat. This seems to suggest that the store itself is an anomaly. Further entries seem to show that Lee is developing some problems with his memory. He mentions hanging out with a girl named Cindy, and they decided to go to a movie theater, but he doesn't even remember what movie they saw, despite it presumably being only hours prior.
Interesting.
The next entry starts by him saying that he just remembered something from the other day, that a lot of stuff in town was closing up, including the grocer and the barber. Despite this, the Syncope Symphony store was still open, although Lee refers to it as that Sunoco store.
Sunoco?
He says the store had
Sunoco. Okay. I mean, I know that's a real place, so I wonder if that's like supposed to be like a play on things, you know, where the Syncope Symphony actually, like, what am I trying to say? Not necessarily like converted to Sunoco or something like that, but it's like the Sunoco store, like we see Sunoco, but it's actually supposed to be Symphony Syncope or whatever, you know what I mean? But like it's part of some kind of SCP anomaly that is converting that to just Sunoco. You know, I don't know. Anyway, let's continue.
Had different people working there. They were all really strange. One employee spent 2 hours mopping the same spot of floor, whistling the same 10-second tune over and over. This also reveals that Lee spent 2 hours inside of the store and yet can't remember the name of it.
Could also be that people go into the store and are messed with and then given amnestics so they don't remember either, you know? By entering the store, they could be getting like played with in some way.
Entry says that the marching band was given pills to take daily as part of their new training schedule. Lee's journal entries begin to grow even stranger, with him remarking that the band marches in solidarity, together unified with the miracle of sound, and that someone has to keep the beat to the world. He writes that the radio sounded really good today. The sound slithered through the holes in the fiber cloth, curling around the wooden frame and emanating itself to him. They apparently listened to the radio for 3 days straight and didn't even notice. Lee's final entry reads, "Before we met..."
Okay, Kelshman, you've been affected. You need to go seek help.
"I was a pitcher of water, sloshing around and holding all my notions in my skull. My flow was stagnant, and I couldn't walk with my fellows. We had to break the glass, let it fall to pieces, let it sink into the sides of our heads. Rattles around until all the pieces catch. I needed you to put it back together again, with the cracks showing. It comes in like a fountain now, and I know so much. I remembered how we used to sing." A lot of references to memory and music.
Right.
And it seems that Lee and the rest of the marching band have been deeply affected by the anomalies of Syncope Symphony. The next part of the tale is a series of announcements sent out to the school. One of them reminds the students to donate to the fundraiser for extracurricular activities, despite Syncope being very generous with their donations. Another announcement mentions that a new lunch menu is being introduced, offered free to any student in a program sponsored by Syncope.
Interesting.
One reads, "Students, if you feel strong enough, please rest with our brothers. See how the formula all comes together to make one tablature." And another tells the students to stand with them for the pledge of symphonic allegiance and sing your hearts out with style.
All right, clearly, yeah, the Symphony Syncope company, corporation, whatever, is doing some serious fuckery to people in this high school and potentially more.
The final two announcements read, "Some have said that it was the new system that caused them to part. Those of you who do are warned. The director will hear of anything we say. He's listening to all of us now, hearing the rhythm of the panting and the running crowds, the bells and the blackboards. It's harmony." And students are reminded that only band members are permitted off school premises. Any violators will deal with their own consequences. They have only damned themselves with their own actions.
Weird.
Clearly, Syncope Symphony have infiltrated the entire school,
Yeah.
although to what end is still unclear.
And more, it seems.
Musical references abound across the entire piece so far, and we know the marching band is among the most affected. We get a mention of the director, who seems to be running things. The next part of the tale is written from Lee's perspective, as he walks through the empty school. Apparently he was left behind, as everyone else had been taken out to play. Lee believed that Syncope would always have a place for his percussion, and it's clear that his existence revolves around music and rhythm. The school was reorganized into these 6 populations, and each was given their own positions in the school, whatever that entails. Lee says that he can feel Syncope in his sinews, and it's pushing him forward, apparently controlling him.
Right.
He seems to be resisting it, though. He's
Which I assume that means it's why he got left behind.
punished by whatever force is behind Syncope, and his body is thrown to the ground, an icy bubble welling in his chest, pressing against him until he finally passes out. During that time, the Foundation apparently arrived on the scene, presumably after the first activation of SCP-332, and they find Lee. Amnestics are applied, but Lee is now struggling with the absence of the melody and tune he had grown accustomed to hearing. Syncope can still barely talk to him in his mind, but it's quickly fading. Lee begins crying.
So it also sounds like it has some kind of, like, maybe psychic connection or whatever. Almost, again, kind of like it's creating some kind of hive mind of all these people. Maybe that's also part of what they're talking about with the symphony. You're hearing, like, the many voices of all the people are creating a symphony of sound or whatever. You know, I don't know.
Desperate to hear that tune again, but the amnestics are kicking in, and he's forgetting it all. Syncope leaves him with one final statement: "We won't forget you." The next interlude is written from one of Lee's friends' perspectives, about a road trip a group of them took before the anomalies really kicked in. They're driving on a flat stretch of empty road for what seems like ages, but the first house they come across, the driver, Rusty, speeds past. He says that he has bad memories of the place, but the writer insists you can't have memories of things you've never seen. They say that Rusty has the nerve to not let anyone else drive, but then the writer can't remember if Lee ever drove or not. Apparently, they then left Rusty somewhere, and when they came back, he was gone. This interlude ends by saying, "The car is longer now. I don't know how, but I do. The lights in my teeth are getting brighter,
The fuck?
and the eyes of my light are brighter. I'm sharp." The final part of the tale is once again from Lee's perspective, and it seems some time has passed from the culminating events at the high school. Lee now has his own home, and he dropped out of college, saying that the environment was just too hostile.
Hmm.
He has a job at a bank, entering data, and he can barely pay his bills. Checking his mail, he finds a red envelope with no return address, and is apprehensive about opening it, although he's not entirely sure why. Finally, he opens it, finding only a Polaroid photograph. It was a picture.
So is Lee the old man they were talking about at the beginning?
Taken during their road trip in 1976, featuring him and two of his friends. He says it wasn't a particularly exciting trip, but Kirk Lonwood had been one of the last times he had been happy. A thought interjects in his mind that he should have stayed home with them. He finds a message on the back, reading, "We've had a great year, haven't we?
Interesting.
Hope to see you again soon. Love, Cindy."
And I mean, it could be a group, it could be a person or some kind of entity. That's why I like this minor canon so much. A lot of SCPs, but it's just super weird. I mean, it is definitely a mystery. Like, who is this Syncope Symphony? What are they doing? Why are they doing this? Why were they doing all these things in 76 that seem to be connected in some way to various high schools and younger people? You know?
Clearly, Lee is holding SCP-1423,
Right.
which we can now say is a photo of Lee and his friends. As expected, Lee begins to have dreams of that road trip, his last summer vacation in high school. The next day, he continues to reminisce and think about that trip, wondering where they had actually gone. Although he originally planned to toss the Polaroid, he later decided to keep it, just in case. He believes that his entire senior year was a blur, keeping in mind that his memories had been erased.
Right.
But that summer was a golden moment where nothing mattered and you could do what you want. He begins to bask in nostalgia, the effect.
You know, I also wonder, because like they talked about originally, they took a long road trip somewhere and one of them disappeared. They don't know what happened to him. And I wonder if that's like the origin of the lake, you know? Like maybe they took some people up there who were resistant to this Syncope Symphony thing, and they killed him and they disposed him in the lake there, and then that created like a cognito hazard effect. I don't know. Interesting.
Of 1423 settling. He begins to bask in nostalgia, the effects of 1423 settling in. He reflects on Cindy and Band, and wondered where he had met Cindy. A memory comes rushing back to him, tied to one word: syncope. The rest of his memories begin piecing together as he scrambles out of his bed, wondering how could he have forgotten syncope. A buzzing sound grows in his head as his skull throbs in pain, blood streaming down his nose.
Yikes.
He remembers that syncope would remember him, even if he forgot. It ends with a note from Syncope, saying that it knows the people it affects are unhappy, but they have all been playing roles towards a singular goal, a grand symphony. The epilogue to the tale is another picture of 4 individuals with distorted faces standing over someone sleeping in bed.
That is fucking creepy looking, dude. Not just the faces, but the fact that they're standing over this dude sleeping. We aren't gonna forget you too? Yikes.
The caption reads, "We aren't going to forget you." The overall narrative of the class of 76 is loose, and you shouldn't expect a specific explanation for all of these SCPs and events. It seems, though, that there's an anomalous organization, or force, called Syncope, that is working to infect as many people as possible, specifically young people, in order to accomplish some sort of goal. Their existence is intrinsically tied to music and sound, but memory is also just as important. The tale is directly connected to the Marching Band SCP, the Polaroid SCP, and the Yearbook SCP, but that still leaves 2316. Well, on the surface, you might think that the class of 76 is isolated to a single school, the Kirk Lawnwood High School. 2316 shows that the effect is far wider in scope than that. The effects clearly come in different forms, but ultimately it's all tied together with memory. I mentioned earlier that syncope was referenced in SCP-3935, this thing a quiet madness made, written on a bag carried by a student no one recognized.
Right.
This could have just been included as a nice reference, except that the events of SCP-3935 occurred in April of 1976.
Exactly.
I'd be remiss if I didn't at least mention SCP-4833, the Syncope Symphony. 4833 is the designation for a group of organized reality benders that go by the name of Syncope Symphony, and have experimented on youth for decades as part of an unknown goal they refer to as a state of harmony. SCP-4833 is an interpretation of the Class of 76 canon, and it's long enough to warrant its own separate video. As it is, this video should have shed enough light on the Class of 76 to pique your interest. While many of us likely weren't in high school in 1976, most of us can relate to the feelings of nostalgia and happy memories. And in the end, that's what Class of 76 represents. Not a story, but a feeling.
Interesting. Very interesting. This one went down quite a bit of rabbit hole here. Students, we're sad to report that we had to let some staff and students go. Although they were bravely carrying on in their duties, in the end there was room for only so many in the orchestra of life. Please listen in silence as we commemorate those who have gone to another place. They hear of anything we say. All of us now hearing the rhythm of the panting, running crowds, the bells, and the blackboard's song. Interesting. So, I mean, clearly this definitely warrants a follow-up video to the Syncope Symphony. To get more clarification on potentially what they are and what their goals are, what they're about, etc., etc. But I thought that they're after doing the video. I first did the video on the you don't recognize the bodies in the lake, and then after that I did a couple of videos on the thing a quiet madness made, and I thought there was some kind of connection in some way, because they both happened in 76, and I could have swore they both happened in Indiana, but I could be mistaken that the lake that's in you don't recognize the bodies SCP could be somewhere else. I could be mistaken about that, but obviously this is referencing that during the summer of 76 that whoever or whatever the syncope group is of reality benders were definitely doing some kind of fuckery, specifically on people in high schools. Maybe they created the SCP in, you know, the thing Quiet Madness made. Maybe it was already there and things just got enhanced in certain ways, or broken more in certain ways because of their influence. But there's a general theme going on between these of memory issues, strange occurrences. I don't know. And in this one, it almost seems like they're trying to create kind of like a hive mind situation. At least that's the idea that I got of like the symphony and being connected. And I guess they're probably only trying to have certain people maybe with certain ideas or ideals, certain ways of thinking, wanting to be part of this hive mind symphony connection, and everyone else they get killed, or you know, and maybe that's what's happening up there in the lake. You know, the bodies of those people, because they said they had a road trip where they took a long drive that seemed to go on forever, and they had someone with them, and then on the way back they didn't have someone with them. So maybe that's part of what's going on. The Syncope Symphony is having people dispose of bodies there, but because of like whatever they did originally, it created some kind of hive mind connection to the bodies in the lake that maybe created a cognito hazard. I don't know. And that draws people in, etc., etc. I just love that you become at any of these individual SCPs, they're fun on their own, but eventually realize there's actually something more going on. Right. Or you can just talk to the individual SCPs and acknowledge the wider canon. Either way, it's super weird and super cool. Definitely. So, I'll definitely will have to add to the list Syncope Symphony and do a follow-up on that sometime soon to tie these things together here. So, but that was the Exploring Series Class of 76. Links will be down below in the description to the original video without my commentary and reaction, and to the Exploring Series channel. Please do me a favor, click those links, give this video a like if you enjoyed his video, give the man a sub if you enjoy his content. He definitely deserves the love and support. As you can see, we've been doing this reaction live here with my YouTube members. If you would like to come in and join us as we do these reactions live, we'd love to have you guys in here and join in the discussions, give your input, your thoughts, your ideas, your theories, speculations on things that are going on, your own headcanon, etc. We'd love to have you guys come and join in the discussions. It's part of the reason why I love doing these things, is because I love having discussions about these topics and what could potentially going on, and theorizing and speculating, etc., etc. So I'd love to have you guys come in here. If you'd like to do so, there is a join button underneath the video, as well as a link in the description to the membership benefits that I offer. See if any of them have any interest if you'd like to. We'll greatly appreciate you taking your support to the next level if you want to do so and help me out monetarily. Obviously, that goes to allowing me to be able to do this more often as my primary focus. And obviously that is a dream to be able to do this. But regardless of that, I just appreciate you guys coming and taking the time out of your busy days to watch this video. If you enjoyed it, consider leaving a like and a sub, as it helps me and it helps the channel grow. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much. Hope you're having yourselves a wonderful day wherever you're at and whenever you're watching this. We'll see you guys on the next one. Have a wonderful day.